Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm videodiary. Should we see what's going on a lovely island from Fawnhollow today? Well, you know, I shouldn't be doing this right at the start of the video. I'm just checking my messages because I saw I got a message. And it's fine. I don't need to reply to that one. Yet, at least. Of course I will reply to them. You know, you should reply to your messages when you get them from people. Otherwise it's a little bit rude, I suppose, to ignore them to a certain degree. Not to say that I haven't been guilty of doing that from time to time. Sometimes I see a message and I'm like, oh, I'll ponder on my response to that and I'll reply later, but I just forget replying. Or I'm like, oh, you know, I'm kind of in the middle of something, I don't want to break that rhythm, I'll reply to that later. And I forget because the notification's not there anymore. Which is why I try and make a point to check all my messages, I suppose, in the morning to make sure I reply to any. Hello there, everyone. Right now in Fawnhollow, it's 3:26 PM on Friday, December 17th, 2021. The most fashionable sister label is visiting us today. I was considering doing a Happy in Paradise customization today, didn't really feel like it, so instead we are going to, well, maybe do them tomorrow on the weekend or whatever, but I don't also have anything to talk about in today's episode. I suppose it is a bit interesting. I'm getting a booster vaccination shot, for of course the ongoing pandemic, which, you know, I recommend you all get if you can get them, but they recently opened up, I suppose, to my age, what's the word, category? That's not the right word. Group, age group, there we go. So opportunity is existent now for me, which, you know, I quite luckily, I suppose, got quite an early foray into the booster. I don't know, apparently my mind's not really on the conversation because I just recorded some Babos use, so my mind is obviously very on the fritz, I suppose, from just like overclocking itself, trying to figure out some solutions to those problems. I'm still stuck. Well, actually, you haven't even seen the Babos yet. They haven't gone up yet, have they? No, I think about it. It's still on Talos Principle, so apologies, spoilers, if you're wanting to remain spoiler-free, I suppose, in the upcoming series. Although I think I've spoken about it multiple times. I might even said it at the end of Talos Principle, I can't remember. But anyway, I haven't done the thumbnail up for that yet, but that will come with time. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've done the vaccine bit over and over and over again. Like, I mean, I don't really have a problem with injections or anything like that. I don't know what we're watering here, to be honest. Are we watering the carrots? That doesn't seem right. Why are some of them free and some of them 1? Oh, you know what? I was testing this, right? I was testing if I plant a plant, I suppose, which only grows 1 thing. Even if I water it every single day, would it continue to only grow 1 thing? I guess the answer to that is yes. Which seems a little bit strange, but so be it, I suppose. Who am I to really comment on what's strange and what is not? What am I doing? We should be going to Captain's Island. Actually, what are Nookmar missions? I forgot. So let's just be a casual talk about whatever day. I guess we can do some group stretching, sell some fruits. Did not pay attention to what the others were. Chop wood, change clothes. Okay, because we have a change clothes mission, I guess we'll talk to Label and we'll see exactly what she wants us to dress as. Help me out again if you show me an outdoorsy outfit. Okay, something camping. We can do that. Loose fitting clothes on a picnic. Hold on. If a thumbnail has anything to go by. This is something I'd wear to a picnic in the first place. Not that I own something like this, but still. Apologies for that little interruption. Let's see if we can just talk to Label again, see if you know, we could also try some casual loose fitting clothes. Like, I'm wearing picnic clothes. I suppose what I could do is I could probably take off the wings I'm wearing and maybe she'd be like, oh, you know, I'll have a look and see if this is suitable or not. I can't imagine it particularly is, but we'll see if she's okay with it. Not that we are in particular dire need of Label tickets or anything like that. Oh, it doesn't really have outdoorsy flair. I'll definitely tuck it away for reference. You know what? Fair enough. She doesn't even give us clothes if we disappoint her. You know, I would wear this to a picnic with the impish wings and everything. Perhaps it doesn't quite have that feel that she was going for, which is fair enough. Can't really fault her for that. But yeah, I don't know. There's a pretty big backlog of videos I've got going on right now. I forgot I need to upload Babos videos recorded right now. Actually, I can't upload one of them because one of them I need to stitch together because of unfortunately it was a little bit interrupted in the middle. But I can upload at least episode 6 right now. Phoebe sort of just vibing about. Sorry, Phoebe. Well, I'm just doing things I shouldn't be doing right now anyway. And at some point I need to figure out, see you later, exactly what I'm going to do with these titles and whatnot. You know, it's always a fun game trying to think of titles. I know, that's not what I'm talking about. I was talking about, oh yeah, booster shot. I don't know, there's not really much to talk about. Like, as I said before, you know, injections, they don't really make me squeamish or anything. I'm not really particularly scared of needles. well, needles used in responsible ways, I suppose. Using needles as a weapon, I suppose, is as scary as using a knife as a weapon in certain aspects, but most people are, don't do that, so I don't really have much to worry about, I suppose, in the first place. But yeah, like in a medical context, I don't know, I feel like things in a medical context always feel like it changes things, everything becomes so much more clinical in my mind if it's done in a medical context. So, injections, like if I'm just walking down the street and someone like holds up a syringe to me, I'll be like, ugh, Not because I'm particularly scared of the injection or the syringe itself. It's more like, I don't know, is this person going to attack me with a syringe? But, in a medical context, a doctor could do it, flush it in the same sort of way, and I'll just be like, oh, it's going to inject me with this. Hopefully it's an injection I'm aware of is happening. Does this make sense? I don't think this makes any sense. I don't even think I have a good other example. I don't know. I just feel like if you take like things which are very normal to say in a doctor's like room or something out of context, it probably sounds quite frightening without the medical context surrounding it, If you think about it, doctors are, well, not all doctors, I suppose, are more like surgeons, I suppose, can play around with some very deadly instruments, if anything, Scalpels, more frightening. Forceps, I don't even know what forceps are, to be honest. Are the forceps or giant scissors like the plier things? I don't know, I'm not a surgeon. I'm nothing even remotely in that vicinity, nor do I even really know anything about it in the first place, so I'm just going to sort of glissando past that and think about what else to talk about. I don't really have anything I want to talk about. I don't even think anything all that major's really been happening in sort of the gaming world. I don't know, the Game Awards happened, It Takes Two got a top prize. I don't think I really talked about that though. All the stuff I watched also recently I already talked about. I don't know. I suppose if anything, the most boring part, because I'll be going in probably about an hour's time, perhaps a bit less than an hour's time, to go get my booster shot, but I can, I suppose, talk about it tomorrow. I'll be like, ooh, my arm kind of hurts, ooh, ow. But it's not really that big a deal, I suppose, in the first place, It's a worthy sacrifice, especially as we're coming to the Christmas time, and, cases are on the rise, but I don't really want to remind you of that, because this is a time to escape from the real world, if anything. If anything, we should talk about, everyday mundane trivialities, which inconveniences, waiting in queue, waiting in line for that sort of thing. I don't know why it's such a thing that British people love queuing. I do know why it is, because I suppose if you compare it to some other countries, the natural instinct, I suppose, of the British society is to queue in some aspect, but I don't know, you meet some pretty weird people who don't really seem to like queuing all that much, I suppose, when you go to places here and there. And I don't know, like where do you even see queues in the first place? Like nowadays you see it much more often, obviously, because there's only a limited amount of people who can sometimes go into stores. Sometimes, I don't know, I haven't actually been to a store in ages nowadays. The only one I sometimes go to is a pharmacy to pick up medicine, but even most things can be done quite remotely now, if anything. Which, if anything, I forgot I was meant to check medication, if I've got enough of it, or if I need to go get some more. But, of course, that's not really up to you, nor is it the most interesting thing to talk about. I don't know. And I don't really mind queues, I'll be honest. Like, obviously, I went on a flight recently, to another country, not a very far country, it's another European country, of course. But I forgot what I was saying about this. There's a lot of queuing in the airport. It's very strange going to an airport now where everything's so empty. For good reason, because there's a whole lot of like a situation, I suppose, unfolding. But I was double vaccinated family or triple vaccinated and people in the family, we took precautions, many tests and that sort of thing. And it was before like a lot of extra rules started coming in, so, context, I suppose. It was a while, not that long ago, but it was a while back, all the same. It's very weird because, normally when you go to an airport, queues are plenty, especially if you go at a time which is not like in the bright early hours of the morning or the very, very, very late evening. You have like, if you go like a midday or something, you get like easily 100, 200 people long queues or whatever, just, I don't know, going through security or whatever, and they just had to keep on churning through everyone, getting everyone to, do whatever they have to do. But, what's astonishing is how many people are waiting in queue. And they put signs up everywhere. There's even like not attendants, security agents, I suppose, who go down queue, be like, make sure you get your passport ready and your boarding pass or whatever, or if you got electronics, take them out your bag. Make sure all your liquids are sealed in a clear plastic bag. No liquids over 100 milliliters, and in total you can't have more than a liter or something. I forget exactly the rules. I don't know. Normally those thingamajigs don't apply to me too often because I normally take care of them before I even pack my bag, I suppose, in the first place. But But yeah, you got all these sorts of rules, all these sorts of things. And it's amazing how many people get to the front of it and just, you know, just fully not squander whatever it was, you know, like when you're going through like border security or whatever, and it's like, get out your passport and your boarding pass, and you know, have these things at the ready so we can have things go swiftly. And the amount of people who just get to the front and be like, oh, I don't have my passport, didn't realise you needed that, which is, you know, to a certain extent I can understand, because it's just a law of large numbers at this point. You know, when you have like a couple of hundred people or something queuing up for these sort of border patrols or not whatever, and they're queuing up for anything, and even if you tell people, oh, you need to do X, Y, Z or something, you know, there's going to be and I think it's fairly reasonable, 1 in 100% chance, 1 in 100 chance, I suppose, of someone just like not paying attention, missing it, or just completely forgetting, being completely zoned out. Maybe they're really stressed or something for some whatever reason. They just get to the front, they don't think of a passport, so boom, get subverted. You thought I was going to be like, oh, you know, these people are the worst, they're holding up a queue and everything. Yeah, it's annoying, but also, you know, it happens. As much as I like to be a very prepared person, and I would check multiple times if I got everything correct and everything done, you know, but I'm sure there's been times I've been that person, I've gone to the front of the queue and been like, oh, I didn't realise we needed this. Like, one of them was, I feel like I tell the story a lot. I was taking a bus with some friends, and like I checked online like how much a bus tickets cost. One fell hand, I can't remember what it was. And then, you know, we were getting onto a bus and we were waiting. I like to point out, us three were waiting at the bus stop. Like, perfectly fine. And then this other woman was with us, and then it was basically, it was dual carriageway, not dual carriageway, it was just like, it was 2-lane road or whatever, and the bus hit like a little bit of traffic, whatever, because, you know, directly in front of a bus stop is a roundabout, which we don't know what roundabout is, think of it just like a 4-way intersection, it doesn't really matter. Because the bus was not the first one at the roundabout, but it was waiting behind a couple of other cars. This other woman next to us, she just walks up to the bus while the bus is in like the middle of a road, and, you know, just sort of just like walks on, and, you know, the bus driver like opens the doors and just walks on, and we're like, we don't take a bus very often, so I'm just like, I guess that's kind of normal. So we just go like, okay, well, we don't particularly want to miss this bus, like, I guess we'll also just walk up to it. And then we walk up, and I'm just like, oh, can I have a ticket to this? And then he says a price, and I'm like, oh, it's a bit more expensive than I was expected. So, you know, I just like get my purse, which I was holding at the time, and like fish out like the extra like 10 or 20p I need. And then he goes on this like run at me and and my friends, which, you know, at the time I was like, oh, like sheepish about, like, oh, you know, like, sorry sir, whatever. But it was just like, you and your young ones, I hate when you always walk up to the buses and you don't even have your money ready, and look, and now I'm blocking the entire road just because I had to wait here for you to get your money out. I'm like, sorry, I guess. But like, you know, in retrospect, you know, that was like one of the earlier times I took buses. You know, that guy was just not to be rude, a huge what's that, huge rude person. I suppose, because every other time I ever walked on a bus, and if that situation's happened, you know, the bus driver goes, oh, sorry, let me just pull into the bus stop or whatever, and just hold on, and then, you know, I'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm a human being, I understand what you're trying to do, I'll just hold on to the pole next to me, and he'll just pull up to the bus stop, you know, in the middle of the road, or that sort of situation. Or I see that happen to other people. I don't know what happened to that guy's day, that he felt like to go on a huge rant because I had to take an extra 3 seconds to fetch a 20 pence for my purse. But that happened, and you know, I don't like that bus driver. And also, to be fair, it's not really that big deal, because, you know, it's not like he's particularly on my mind. You know, the worst thing you can do, you know, of course, it's a very annoying thing to be, you know, I feel slightly unjustly, you know, like, he has a point, you know, he was in the middle of the road or whatever, but, you know, it also took 3 pence more. Also, he could have just been like, hold on, just wait at a bus stop, wait at a bus station first. And also, why didn't he say anything about other women coming across and also holding up in the first place? You know, we were perfectly content just waiting at the bus stop, but she, you know, he just decided to target us or whatever. you might think, you know, you sound a little bit resentful about this sort of thing. I promise you I'm not, because this is like the first time I've thought about it in probably years or whatever. It's just come to mind. And it almost made me irrationally angry again, until I realised there's really no point to get angry at these sort of things. You just sort of, you know, water off a duck's back. I just kind of want to talk about it because I need something to talk about, and I don't really know what else to talk about. I don't really have many queuing stories, I don't think. It's just weird to think about, you know. Because obviously at the time, I don't even remember how old I was probably like 15 or something, you know. I don't know ride buses. I take a train all the time, but, you know, the trains, you don't really have to interact with people. You just sort of, at least because I live, I'm not really in London, but I'm within London-esque reaching range. You have these things called Oyster cards, at least when I was growing up, and now you can just use a debit card, I suppose, or a credit card, and you just like tap the card, And to be fair, nowadays they have those on the buses, except for that bus wasn't a London bus, so it didn't count as a London bus, so you had to actually pay money or whatever. And I don't know, it's just like, yo, like, chill out, dude. There's many ways that whole things could have been circumvented without you having going on a rant over what ended up being 20p/5 seconds, depending on what you evaluate more. It's just weird, isn't it, to think about? I suppose that's really where I'm going with all of this. I don't know if we got this one, so we'll buy it anyway. Oh, what did you say? Detailed painting? Do we have this? Well, we aren't missing anything starting with D, but we'll buy it anyway. I also think this one's fake, because I think the legitimate one's blue, if I recall. It's sort of like, you know, at the time, you know, I was very sheepish about the whole thing, and then like a couple of years later, I was like, I got kind of annoyed and being like, hey, what's up with that guy's deal? And now I'm just more like, you know, maybe he just had a bad day, or whatever. I will say probably a very unnecessary way to try and solve a whole problem, whether there really was much of a problem, I suppose, in the first place. But, you know, there you go. It's not to diss on bus drivers, by the way. I've met plenty of very nice and very friendly bus drivers. Like, that wasn't actually the first time I took a bus. It was one of the first times, I think. The first time I took a bus, I remember I talked to a bus driver and I was basically just like, hey, so I've never actually taken a bus before, so I don't really know how this works, but I kind of want to get to here. Is that okay? And he was like, oh yeah, you can do this. And I was like, well, first I was like, do we need to like buy tickets together? I was like, no, you can buy tickets together or you can buy them separately. It doesn't really matter. And, you know, he was just a very friendly guy, you know, affable person, you know. And honestly, most bus drivers, very friendly, or at least at the very least, very very neutral, which is kind of like what you want. Like, I think a lot of people, not necessarily a lot of people, some people like, oh, I really want, you know, like my shop checkout person to be like super friendly and chat with me or whatever. I'm just like, I don't really care all that much. Just like, as long as I suppose the person, I suppose, is able to do their job, and you know, I suppose in the end it doesn't really matter how they treat me. I suppose even treating me like garbage is not really that big a deal. It's just like, you know, don't go on like a huge tirade, I suppose. But even then, it doesn't even matter what I think of them, I suppose. I'm not going to go out and complain to the head business, unless it's like really egregious, I suppose. Oh, I just thought of another bus riding story. Like, there's one time that this was like years ago or something, when I went to a holiday or whatever, when I was coming back from a holiday, I took a coach back to I can't remember what train station, so some London train station, or wherever, and then the coach driver just got like into a fight with some random person. He was like driving, not like a physical fight, well no, I mean it was pretty close, but basically I was like on the coach, was just sitting down, and then he was just like driving along the road, but for some reason there was like a red traffic cone or something just in the middle of the road, and you know, he was just like, what should I do about it? He doesn't really want to just like drive over a red traffic cone for fair enough reason. I guess this is like bus stories now. So he stops the bus, you know, or the coach, I suppose, in front of it. He gets out and, you know, grabs the cone and puts it down to the side of the pavement in front of like whatever the business it was. And those business owners, apparently, I don't know what this was. Their business was, there was some sort of like rich car brand or something, and this was, I guess, his showroom. And for some reason, they wanted to put that cone just like in the middle of a road. I didn't really follow what was going on, but they got really angry or whatever. And then the coach driver gets out and gets really angry. Then like another person from inside of the car driving place, you know, they're not particularly angry, but they're trying to sort of defuse the situation, because they're probably just like, hey, what the heck's the point all of this? I don't even know. But then, you know, there was a huge verbal argument just outside, and I'm just sitting there just like looking out the window being like, man, perhaps there's a very nihilistic attitude coming back in. I'm just like, seems all a little bit pointless, I suppose. Like, I don't really understand the point of putting that safety cone out there. You could have just put it on the pavement, I suppose. And I guess if you want to reserve that space, it feels a little bit unnecessary to reserve the entire road, in my opinion. But again, I also don't know the context. Maybe I had a really good reason for it, and most people should just be driving around it. I don't know. But then, you know, the bus driver, to be fair, I guess the bus driver was just more sort of defending his grounds, if anything. But it's sort of like, you know, the altercation just feels like it could have just been avoided, or just like, you know, sidestepped entirely. I suppose it's the sort of case, it depends if you'd rather be right and win, quote, the argument, or if you'd rather just sort of do whatever you're doing. I suppose it depends where your priorities lie. And my priorities lie just being like, I don't really care. Like, I will tell you, you're right if it just avoids me having to escalate, if it avoids things escalating further. You know? Because, like, I'm not going to see that person again. I suppose who cares in the end? Which is why now I suppose I'm airing out my dirty laundry on top of Animal Crossing. It's not really even dirty laundry. It's like this like never happens. This happened like once, and I wasn't even involved. So I guess this is a theoretical. If I was a bus driver in that situation, I would just be like, yeah, I'm just driving a bus, and then I would just get back in my bus and drive away, I suppose. And I feel bad for the bus driver because as he was getting back into the bus, he like fell over. Yeah, you know, it's like getting a perfect comeback, I suppose, for an argument or whatever, and just like stumbling all over your words or something. It's like, oh, now it's just like super lame. I don't know. It was a rather eventful ride back from the airport. If anything, I'd probably rather it not be eventful. I'd just rather it just be as it is. But maybe that's just me. It's probably not just me. I'm sure a lot of people sort of fall into that category. They're just like, you know, could be better if it was just like nothing happened and we just got back. But anyway, that guy was a nice guy, you know. He seemed rather friendly. All the same. Oh yeah, we didn't even change our wardrobe. I forgot. I suppose we will chop some wood, hit some rocks, change our wardrobe. I mean, we still have 10 minutes left. I have no more bus stories. How often do you think I take a bus? Not very often. I take a train more than I take a bus. What other bus stories do we have? I say we have. I mean, you might have some, but you obviously can't tell me right now. I mean, feel free to leave them in the comments, I suppose. Bus stories. Rain isn't anything, so I guess we'll go back to queuing stories, but I also don't have any queuing stories. No, actually, that's false. There was one time I went to, I think I talked about this one before, actually. At least it feels familiar in my mind. I went to an amusement park, in the UK, where we were queuing up, and then, you know, it was like a school trip or whatever, and, you know, we were like with a group of friends, and we were just like walking into, we were just entering like the queue for, I can't remember what ride it was, to be perfectly honest. I don't even remember which amusement park it was. Maybe it was Fort Park. That's a UK. That's a UK one. I mean, and we've only got like 3 amusement parks. We've got Legoland, Fort Park, Alton Towers. Oh, Chessington World of Adventures. Okay, there's 4. There's another one, but I forget what his name is. Let's go and make an axe, I suppose. Yeah, so I was just entering in to whatever ride it was with a group of friends, and then these other 2 women just sort of just like walked in at exactly the same time. No, I don't think it was particularly rudely what they did, but maybe it was in retrospect or whatever. We were just entering as a group, and they sort of just like injected themselves into our group, and then, you know, they just like, for some reason, they, you know, I was just like, I guess I let them in front of me or whatever, or I was just like, you know, I don't particularly fancy sort of just like, you know, walking straight into someone, even if they are directly in front of me. So, you know, I did the human thing to let them pass or whatever, but it's sort of just like, now I'm separated from my friends. I'm just like, hey, you know, actually, can I like go in front of you just because, you know, I can meet up with my friends again? They're like, right there in front of you, and they were like, no, and they, you know, were quite rude about it, from what I recall. At least I remember them being rude about it. I wonder if I've distorted a memory, because they say every time you remember a memory, it gets distorted every single time. So perhaps, you know, at the time I was just like, you know, a teenager being like, oh, so rude, so annoying, but they were actually perhaps very courteous. But no, I remember them. At least the way I remember it in my brain is they were kind of like rude about it in the first place, and I was like, no, all right then. Apparently there's one place in this queue matters to you so much that you had to like defend your life with it, which is, you know, I guess if that's the way you want things to go, then so be it. But then my friends were just like, okay, you know, hey, Diz kind of behind us, let's reconvene with her, and they just let her go in front. So if anything, I guess I kind of won out in the end, didn't they? Those 2 ladies, they managed to get up 6 places in 9, which would be like, whoa, that's crazy. They get onto a ride a whole like 6 places earlier. Except for not really, because we all got on at the same time, because, you know, it's one of those rides where they had like a train of like 20 cars or whatever. So we all got on at the same time. So really it was a very sort of null and point thing, except for now it's become a memory in my mind where I'm just like, just, you know, it's just unnecessarily derisive. Like perhaps, you know, you might be tempted to react to be like, oh, what would you have done in that situation? Would you let that person with a teenager ask you that sort of thing? Would you let them in front? I would have been like, yeah, because it's one place. It never ever goes, so it doesn't even matter. If I'm here with a friend, I'm gonna like ride with them anyway. I could wait one more place for that sort of thing. If it was like a group of 30, I might be like, okay, yeah, like, sorry, but no. But one person is sort of just like you probably won't even notice, and then in this case, it didn't even matter, you know. It's just a weird situation. It must be like some sort of psychological effect, you know? It's like when people are waiting in a queue, or like, well, I don't drive, so perhaps this isn't the most relatable thing for me necessarily, but when people are just like in traffic or whatever, and then like the car in front of them moves, and then like, if your car doesn't move up immediately, the people behind you go like, oh, I can move up, and it's just like, you know, the car forward moved up like 1 meter. me moving forward now in like 5 seconds does not really make much of a difference, I suppose, in the first place. It's a mental game, I suppose. And to be fair, to a certain degree, I guess I kind of respect it, you know. It's you know, being in traffic or being in a queue is not particularly fun for most people. So those small sort of like gaps which you can close in, being able to close them up immediately, I suppose, gives you a certain sense of progression, which feels a lot more satisfying to move into than necessarily having to wait out a certain degree or a certain amount. Yes? No? I don't know. just trying to spitball here. I really have nothing to talk about. What do we need to catch? Black bass, talk to people. Okay. Have we found our crafter? I don't think we found our crafter yet, have we? So let's go do that. We'll find out who's recipeing. It does not seem like it's Amelia. Biscuit is thinking, if you're wondering why we're ignoring Biscuit, it's because he might ask to move out and we don't want Biscuit to move out, so we're just going to ignore him. We're going to see if we can make Tank for one to move out or not. Sorry about that, a little bit of a late pause there. Really, I think what we'll do is we'll probably just find whoever's crafting, and we'll just round off this episode here, because I don't really have anything to talk about. I think I was in the midst of a conversation, but I don't remember what it was anymore, so... Queuing. I don't know. Like... A lot of the times if people... Perhaps I'm part of the problem, I suppose, but if people would, like, just push in front of me and queue, I just sort of just, like, let them, if there's a couple of people, unless it's, like, a huge group, and then I'm just like, well, whatever. Actually, now I think about it, back in, secondary school, we used to happen quite a lot, you know. It used to be quite a casual thing. You're queuing up for lunch queue or whatever, and you know, just like you see it with your friends, and your friends like, hey, can I squeeze in here? And you'll be like, oh yeah, of course, come on. And then, you know, it just happens. But there's this one class or whatever where apparently just like, without fail, every single time they queue up. As soon as one person got into the front of a queue, they'd let their own friend, they'd let one of their friends from the same class in, and they'd let some of their same class in, and whatever. And eventually the entire class ends up in front of you. So what becomes a sort of just like a, oh, you just let one person in queue in front of you, ends up becoming like a 30 people are now in front of you. At the end of the day, I suppose it is just lunch. So it didn't really make that big of a difference anyway. If anything, I suppose you should just end up queuing in front of them. But, I don't know. Queuing up. Not most engaging thing in the world. Phoebe was not crafting, so the only ones we have left are Vivian and Raymond, right? I think they're the only people we haven't looked at their houses, and I think Raymond's walking about, so it must be Vivian who's crafting. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing to do with booster shot, I suppose, which is I'll be leaving in like 10 minutes or so, I suppose. Basically, as soon as I'm done with this video, I'll be heading on over. So what you doing, Vivian? What you doing? What you doing? A festive top set is definitely... Ugh. I clicked the wrong button. Tell me how to make it. I didn't mean to ignore you so readily. But yes, we will take the recipe, which we have not had access to yet. A festive top set. So it's good. If we have more festive things, it'd be a lot easier for us to actually fill up the Christmas. But I see castle, I suppose, on the top right, which is meant to have a bit of a festive feel to it at the same time. But I also think we'll just sort of round this episode off here. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm going to type as bus queues, I guess. I feel like pieces of stories I've told before, but I actually don't remember. You know, I haven't had all that many interesting stories, I suppose, happen in my life. Wait, that sounds like a depressing thing. Oh, I mean, I do, but like, a lot of them don't become like entertaining stories to tell, I suppose. Be like, oh, like there was one time I went to China and I saw something really cool. What was it? Oh, you know, it's the Great Wall of China. It was great. You know, it's a bit hard to spin that into a story, I think. I don't really know what I was going with this. Anyway, I'm just going to round up this episode up here because I've completely lost it. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Adam Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join me, Dear Darling, Discord. Follow me on Twitter down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, it's our farewells. Until next time, bye-bye for now.